Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of In Lay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and today we have with us our fellow candidate, Clara. And I never asked you backstage how to pronounce your name, so I will try. Clara Piedalue?
Now,
Piedalue?
yes, that's bang on. Petaloo, correct.
Piedalue. All right, I got it right the first time. Clara, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me, Payman.
No, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. You and I have talked on the phone a bit. We talked a little off stage, you always crack me up. But it's my understanding that's because of your previous profession, as you've done some comedy.
Well, I wouldn't say that it was a profession because I think you have to get paid. But no, it was more of a hobby. Yeah, I have done some stand-up comedy, and honestly, it's just because, like, if I'm not crying, I'm laughing. So, or if I'm not laughing, I'm crying. So let's just bring some laughter into our lives to be able to relieve some stress and pressure that I think a lot of Canadians are under right now.
So I'll let you lead with the jokes because my jokes always fall flat.
Oh, do they? Oh gosh,
Like
I
that
didn't.
one.
I don't have
Yeah.
a prepared joke, but
Three, two,
don't have
one,
to look.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, don't have to look too far. I guess it would be my joke would be surrounding like what's the lady's name who's in the Liberal Party who just did a show about how she was thrown out of the Liberal Party because she's
Ruby
Muslim and a
Dalla.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, her. Okay, so it's so funny how she's just like every liberal talking out of both sides of her mouth because a few weeks ago she was saying about how she was the first Muslim woman, to be a liberal candidate and how we should all vote for her because of that reason. And now she's saying that it's because she's a Muslim woman that she's been attacked and persecuted and thrown out
I,
of the Liberal Party. Not a single mention of her fraudulent, money handling that's against Election Canada. That's why she was asked to leave.
I think in politics, the term they use to describe that is a 180.
It's a 180.
It's a technical
Or
term. I don't know. I'm assuming you've never heard of it.
no, I haven't heard of that. It sounds to me like I was just watching wrestling with my son last night. He loves wrestling, and John Cena. He turned into a heel. Like John Cena, like when you're a heel, it means like you switched over to the dark side.
I'm somewhat familiar with the John Cena memes, but I don't know that phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my son kept saying. I had to ask for clarity as well, but I was like, I'm gonna use that because a lot of people have crossed the floor, crossed over with their values, their morals, their ethical compass, and they've crossed over into not having any. So a bunch of heels running our government right now.
Well, why don't I let you test that out with the voters? You tell me if it resonates before I adopt it.
Sure. Where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about first?
Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. We already know your name, but tell us your which is also there. Tell us your writing. I don't
Yeah,
know,
of
a little bit
course.
about yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, my name is Clara Piedalue. I'm representing the People's Party of Canada in Lethbridge, Alberta. I've come to this position as a candidate completely unqualified. I have, I'm just an average person, with two kids, trying to, pay my mortgage and pay my rent and get by in life. For me, what I guess brought me over to want to run is I think the best way to describe it is, Dr. Miles Monroe said that leadership begins when tolerance ends. And I just can't tolerate what's happening anymore in Canada. I used to be a proud Canadian, and now I would say that I'm almost embarrassed to say that I'm Canadian. And that's because of so many ruptures and tears in our social fabric. And I just woke up one day and I'm like, I'm doing it. I love Maxime Bernier really spoke to me. And I joined the party, voted PPC the last election, and I decided to apply to be a candidate. And I was chosen, thankfully, and honorably chosen. So very grateful for that. And that's what brought me here today.
I'm not quite as articulate as you. When people ask me, they're like, "Why did you run?" I just have this like horrible look on my face. I'm like, I can't live like this. This is
I can't live
horrible.
like this anymore.
Yeah.
None of us can. And we've all been silenced. what I want most for the Canadian people is to take our power back. We've been silenced and walked all over. We're a kind people. Canadians are kind people, tolerant people, accepting people. And I feel like we've been seriously taken advantage of. Our power has been stripped away from us. And it's time to take back our power.
Yeah, we've let them walk all over us.
Exactly. Exactly. So Canada's a beautiful country. It's my home. I was born in Montreal. I grew up there for the most part. I had a really great, I loved Canada. I was a big proponent, like for CBC and for, socialist policies to be able to, for example, not socialist policies necessarily, but just policies that support the people, the lesser than. There's a lot of vulnerable communities in our society that need our help, and I've always been an advocate for raising everyone so that we can be a stronger society by supporting each other. That's always been something I believed in. I joined the NDP party for a long time. I was a big supporter of Jack Layton. I just loved what he stood for, and how it supported Canada as a country and all of the different communities within Canada. That was something that I really loved about Jack Layton. And then here we are all of these years later. I actually ended up leaving the NDP party and crossing the floor from one extreme to the other to the PPC. And that's because I really just think that Maxime Bernier and the PPC represent common sense for the Canadian people. It's time for us to take our power back and to support each other. Right now, we're divided. The working class is being pitted against each other. The middle class is being pitted against each other through things like DEI and policies. Immigration even is something that's pitting us against each other. And I don't want this. It's a falsehood to say that that DEI is about race. It's a falsehood. Like we don't live in a society divided by race anymore. We live in a society that's divided by class, and there's the haves and the have-nots, and the system that we work in, that we're working underneath. It's like basically, it's socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor.
That's a good bumper sticker.
It is, and nothing could be truer. So all of our resources are flowing to the rich, and the poor are fighting amongst themselves. It's absolutely atrocious that what's happened to the Canadian government. Used to support the people, but now it is the people who support the government. That's why I had to run as a candidate, to be able to bring and shine a light onto what's really happening here.
So, Clara, we're all excited that you're running, and just to point of clarification, you've only been running for like a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was selected as a candidate just at the end of February.
No, good for you.
Thank you.
Before going on, I'm just going to say my hellos. So, Prairie, thank you again for watching today. Kirk, good morning. One more godless woman. I've interviewed her as well. Good morning. Funny comment from Addison Ahmet. I sent my application to be a candidate recently, and I am unqualified as well. Don't feel like you're alone, Clara.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Thank you. I think it just takes the courage. Like, what makes me qualified is that I'm willing to just be here and put myself out here. And, obviously the support is wonderful, but I know that the arrows are coming. And I think, by being able to hopefully use my voice, I hope that it inspires others as well to use their voices and know that they're not powerless. Democracy matters. Canada matters. We don't want to be living underneath one global agenda. We want to live as a free nation.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the word freedom a lot lately, and it's gotten so top heavy. You and I were talking about this earlier. It's so centralized, whether it's in Ottawa or the provincial capitals.
That is correct. Freedom is I find like the liberal government and the government in general just talk out of both sides of their mouth. A lot of it is just for public relations. It's complete fluff and PR, and there's actually very little actual items that are going to have a meaningful impact in the lives of Canadians. Um, I know that this might be slightly questionable to give this metaphor, but I really feel that we live in a uniparty system. The liberals and the conservatives are just two heads of the same snake. The only difference is that the liberal snake head is a little bit bigger than the conservative snake's head, you know?
When you said you were going to make a questionable reference, I was like, oh God, is she going to go talk about the Nazi Party now?
No, no. Yeah, like that's the other thing too. Like if everybody, like it's just ridiculous. You can't have an opinion without somebody pointing at you and saying that you're a Nazi, or you're racist, you're a rapist, you're a misogynist, you're sexist. Like it's finger pointing. And that's how women were silenced for generations before feminism. And they're using the exact same playbook to silence the citizens of this great nation.
Hey, if it worked then, it's going to work now. They're going to hell, but at least they're succeeding at their mission.
Yeah, they are definitely succeeding in their vision. 100%. All of our resources and power flow up to the rich. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And like the fact that we've just accepted that this is the way things are is it's time for us to take our power back and reclaim, our citizenship of this country. And I hope to inspire people to get involved in the Democratic Party, to get into the democratic process and get out and vote. Your vote is going to matter this year. And if you support PPC, get out there and show your support by voting PPC. It's going to make all the difference.
Let's talk about your riding. I know you've only been in for a few weeks, but can you tell me what are the main issues in there? Maybe through door knocking, maybe through just talking to your friends.
Yeah, I think it's a really great question, Payman. Thank you. I think the issues of Lethbridge are very similar to the issues for the rest of Canadians, especially, and that is the cost of living. Cost of living is skyrocketed here, like it has everywhere else. And feeding your family is going to the grocery store now. It's like completely unaffordable to eat, let alone eat healthy and try to provide your kids with healthy food. It's completely unaffordable. And I think a lot of people are worried about their mortgage payments, worried about their debt burden, buying groceries on credit cards. Like these are things that should not be happening in a country as abundant in resources as Canada.
I'll tell you what they are in mine. Just from talking to people, with men, it's some variation of the economy, which is too much taxation, too much regulation, too much inflation. You called it the cost of living. With women, it's healthcare, and it's healthcare and education. That's the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's interesting that women would be concerned about the health and education. Like these are concerns for for fostering good family values and raising up good kids. Having access to great healthcare and great education are very important. I feel like there's been a decline in both of those areas over my lifespan. The quality of education has gone down, I think. Children are being pushed through without even having basic literacy skills. I've worked a lot in the past with children, and I can't believe the amount of people going into middle school who still can't read.
Yeah, that's always a problem. I used to be able to read. Not so much. I'm too busy watching Netflix.
Now I can only watch 10-second videos.
I can read Bazooka Joe comics.
Nice. I can still read the Bazooka Joe comics too. But if the video is longer than 10 seconds, you've lost my attention. So I think education needs to be, it's definitely where we need to be investing. Obviously, early childhood education is a fundamental building block for the future of our society. Having strong early childhood education is proven to produce strong, healthy people in the future who are resilient and capable of withstanding, different life challenges and rising up and being great, being content, happy members of society. We've seen an increase in our society. Everyone knows it, of depression, screen dependency, antisocial
Check.
behaviors,
Right.
loneliness. Like we are sadder than we've ever been, and lonelier than we've ever been in history. And
Uh,
a
as
lot.
you're
I mean,
as you're listing those off, I'm like, holy crap, she's describing me.
I know, right? Or myself. I mean, I don't mean to talk about myself so much, but but yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Our communities have been broken down. Socializing is like we don't socialize our kids as well as we should be. There's just been so many changes in technology and in society, and some of them have been very positive changes, but a lot of them have been really negative. And sometimes, sometimes we have to go back and really evaluate where we're at and what is really important. Is it really important, to overtax and overburden everyone with an additional carbon tax that we can now flow more money up to the rich, while the rest of us struggle to feed our families? Is that really what's important right now? I'm not sure that it is. I think what's most
That
important is caring for our people.
that carbon tax, it blows me away. Like they must know that it's not popular, but they're still leaning into it, and they must know that climate change, this hysteria over climate change, it's
Mhm.
on the way out.
I hope
But they're still milking it.
they're going to keep milking it. It's not really on the way out in Europe, from what I understand. I'm not very well versed in the subject, but I know that in Europe there still is carbon tax. This is a WEF agenda. They found out a way to make this all about the environment. And in my opinion, it has nothing to do with the environment. This has nothing to do with the environment whatsoever. It has to do with further taxation and control. That's what the carbon tax is. It's just a matter of time before we're going to where we're going to become, we're going to have carbon credits where we're only allowed to move around, buy food, based on how many carbon credits we have. Like that's scary. Like that's where this could potentially be going, as we allow our personal freedoms to be eroded. People should be very scared. We're not saving the environment here. We're controlling the populace. That's in my opinion what the carbon tax is about.
Clara, I don't know how old you are. I'm 41, and I remember like when I was 5, 6, 7 when I first came here. The way that they sort of educated us on environmentalism, it kind of made sense. They said, look at the Soviet Union, they're dumping heavy metal ions into the water supply. It's bad.
Hmm.
Nobody disagrees with that. But then they hijack that, and now it's like, Billy, you're bad because you're made of carbon, and when you die, you're going to contaminate the soil.
Okay, like carbon is what makes up life itself. Like anything that's alive is made of carbon. Like that's a pretty fundamental life piece, for life. Yeah, again, it's just another great way to finger point and accuse people of being bad, because you're polluting. I went through a very similar, actually, if anything, a total complete psychosis when I was in my 20s. I used to cry for using too much toilet paper. Like I use too much toilet paper, I'm hurting the environment. Like it would bring me to tears. And, I prided myself on only creating like one bag of garbage a month. I recycled and repurposed everything that I could. I ate organic. This is all before having kids, of course. Um, but then, I don't know, something within me just sort of felt like, is this a scam? Like, I feel like it's a scam now. Cause like, I've been alive long enough. I lived through acid rain. I've lived through the hole in the ozone layer. Like I've lived through Y2K. I know that that's not environmental, but it was still fear mongering. I've lived through all of these. Apparently, the ice caps are melting. The ice caps are freezing. We're all going to die. Like how many of those are we going to live through before we realize um, that it's just a fear mechanism to keep us repressed, down low, and anxious? Like everyone in our society is so anxious because of the constant perpetuating of fear.
I had forgotten about acid rain. Uh, there's a whole bunch though. There was the killer bees,
Yeah,
desertification,
yeah.
global famine. You mentioned the hole in the ozone layer, the rising sea levels. Um, there was that time in the '90s where every movie was every other movie was about a meteor striking the Earth.
That's right. The meteors are coming. Yes, it's and of course, our environment is important and it needs to be cared for and looked after. And we have raped and pillaged our environment. No doubt about it. And Canada is a raw resource country. Luckily, we do have certain pieces in place to protect our environment, especially being at the headwater, so to speak. All of the clean natural water, like it comes from the glaciers, which is predominantly in Canada. Like we are stewards of our clean water supply. I think that's something that we should take very seriously and show great care towards. But however, creating an entire new green city, environmentally friendly, energy sources and technologies to replace the old ones, I don't think is the answer. Why is ripping out more raw resources from the planet to create these environmentally friendly technologies? Why is that a wise choice?
I can't believe they've gotten away with this using the phrase like a green city. Like somehow they tricked people into thinking that an urban center made of concrete, the high concentration of people, is more eco-friendly than one person living on an acreage.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, goodness forbid you should have a rooftop garden because like now you're polluting the environment.
I love those. Like it's I know you were talking about something else, but you get a skyscraper downtown. It's like 100. You have like 10,000 people living in there, and they're like, "We're gonna put a little patch of grass on the top. That'll balance everything out."
That's going to balance everything out. Yeah, exactly. I think it would be wiser. I'm from Alberta. We are in an agriculture community here, and let me tell you, one thing that farmers are very good at, it's stretching resources. Farmers stretch their resources, stretch their assets, and for the maximum amount of lifespan. You think that you've reached the end of the lifespan of your tractor? Let me tell you, you just give it another. You just gave it another 2,000 hours. And that's because things are cared for, repaired, and loved, and so you get more life out of them. I believe that our infrastructure just needs to be repaired, built out, and renovated, if you will. It doesn't need to be replaced.
I really envy the harmony that farmers have with their land. Like they use the land for filtering the water, and then they take water from the well. They use it for their sanitation through a septic tank,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and they use it for generating revenue through farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, farmers are very cognizant of their energy outputs. You have to be able to, your outputs and inputs are carefully measured, and you want to use everything you can to your advantage. Like every little piece of land is cultivated and utilized, and it's just because being a farmer is, margins there's no margins of being a farmer. That's why everything's turned to agribusiness here in Alberta. It's owning being an independent farmer is a thing of the past. Even being able to transfer your farmland to the next generation was so challenging with the government and capital gains exemption and transferring it to the kids. Now you have to tax this like $10 million asset still has to get taxed as you pass it on to your kids. Like, come on, man. Like it's just completely ridiculous. And it feels like it's a push out, for small farms have been pushed out, and agri-farm, like land ownership and agri-farm has changed the nature of farming. I know I can't completely speak to it. I'm not a farmer. I did not grow up farming, but I can create a parallel if you want to talk about small business.
Go ahead.
Yeah, small business. Like that's something that I'm really passionate about. I've been a small business owner, and I now work helping small business owners sell their small businesses to new owners. That's what I do for work. And it's been really interesting to watch over the last 10 years. small business, to me, what I've seen is it's death by a million cuts, to small businesses. COVID took out so many small business owners, just because of like the constant regulations, being shut down, not being able to, things were already riding on a thin line. Small business owners are under attack. It's hard to compete with Amazon. People now buy
Yeah.
online, right? And of course, shopping habits are people are going to go for the best experience. They're going to go for the best price, and online shopping creates that for a lot of people. But it's certainly very challenging for a small retailer to compete with Amazon pricing. Like it is impossible to compete based on price. So you have to compete in other ways. And that's maybe through experiences and culture. And a lot of small businesses are successful in that. But there's fewer and fewer small businesses. More and more doors are closing. And all we're left with for choice is what's available at Walmart. What does that say about a thriving economy? I mean, we're just moving over to 5 global corporations that will rule us all. Like that's where it's heading. And the microeconomy, I think, will always continue, and I hope that as we move forward as a society, and there's this global overlord pressure over us, I think a lot of people will just maybe bring back barter and trade. you know
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you a pizza for your Snapple. Um, Addison Ahmet, you got a customer. Let's talk small business. I am planning to launch my own small business. Call Clara. She'll give you $1 million loan, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I help people who want to build a bit, like who want to sell their business. Starting a business, there's a ton of amazing resources available out there. BDC is a great resource. Futurepreneur. There's just so many things that you have to look at. But honestly, the best suggestion I can give to anybody who's thinking about starting a small business is just get started. Start small. Whether you want to do a product, just start with one product or 2-3 products at the most, and see how you do with those 3 products. Test the market, and then if, as you see, you're like, oh, hey, this one product really sells well, the other 2 not so much, get rid of those 2 products and now add 2 more products to see if now one of those 2 products is also going to sell. So you can start building up your SKUs, building up your inventory, see what people are actually buying. You don't need to start with 5 million SKUs. Like, just start with 3 SKUs, or just start with one client and provide a service to them. And always ask for feedback. Get that loop going where you provide the service and you're asking for them to report back to you, like on what their experience was, and if they are happy with the service you provided. And that's really the best way to get started. And when you have no budget and you have a great idea, just start.
That first advice was free, Addison, but moving forward, you should probably sign a contract with
Moving
him.
forward is $750 an hour.
Yeah, that's a discounted rate. Clara, let's go back. I had a question about when you said you've been in the party a couple of weeks. How was the vetting process, the interview process? Was it intimidating? How did that go?
Yeah, no, I don't know that it was necessarily intimidating. I think I did actually doubt my decision. So after getting off the phone, and I guess I just really didn't think it through, the level of commitment. I was just like, I have a passion. I want my voice to be heard. I think I represent a lot of people when I say what I want to, what I need, what needs to be said. This election is based a lot surrounding morality. I want to be able to discuss, I want to be the person to talk about it, because I feel like I have a lot to say. And would like to take some affirmative action to be able to rebuild a really great country. But yeah, no, the process was really simple, actually. It was a simple, I found it was anyways. I mean, I do a lot of paperwork in my job, so filling out paperwork isn't too much of a big deal for me. And then also conducting the interview, it was like talking to a friend. It was really, really nice to meet someone and have a chat about some of our social issues, and really feeling like, that we really aligned. It was a great feeling. And then from there, you know, I submitted my references, and you know, and then I just waited by the phone for them to call.
I so I think there was two other gentlemen that were also running, and they called me in for an interview. And every question they asked, I answered because I've been doing a lot of volunteer work, and I've been politically involved. And then they asked me a question. I got stumped. They're like, if a voter asks you why should they vote for you, what will you say? And I was like, I hadn't thought of that.
Mm,
So the guy waited for like the longest 60 seconds of my life, and I'm like, I gave him my answer, but it wasn't really wasn't a good one.
that's okay. That's great to be asked these kinds of questions for self-reflection. And maybe you didn't have the answer last time, but let me ask you, Payman, like, you know, why should people vote for you?
Oh crap! I still don't have a good answer for that. No, I think Canada needs a change. Like if we keep going down this road, I always tell people you're going to see entrepreneurs leaving the country. We need to course correct Canada and make it more entrepreneurial. Like we need to get away from this mentality of people being dependent on the state to people being more independent, and that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm running for the
Mhm.
party, not the Conservative Party.
You had such a pleasant way to say it. I'm like, I think we need to get Canadians off the teat of the government and stop treating everybody like 3-year-olds. You know, we treat everyone like they're 3 years old, and all we see are 3-year-old temper tantrums all over the place. I think it's time for people to be accountable and accept personal responsibility, because you know, with great freedom comes great responsibility. And I definitely support that as well. Yeah, but your way of saying it was a lot nicer.
Oh, mine was more word salady. That's the political technical term.
More palpable. Mine, on the other hand, would be like have more attack headlines against me. Yeah.
I had a teacher when I was in college. He used to tell me, "It's like if you can't be compelling, at least be comprehensive."
I like that. If you can't be compelling, at least be comprehensive. I think you and I are great opposites, because I feel like I'm not very comprehensive, but I'm a little bit compelling.
I I've been doing a couple of meet and greets, and the voters ask me they ask me what they think are simple questions, like how do we fix healthcare, and I do like the world's biggest inhale, and I'm like, unleashing all these stats and figures, and then there's blood coming out of their ears, and they're all falling asleep.
I think I'm just going to pull a page from Elon Musk and just do a nice 10-second pause before answering any question.
Well, you can get away with that when you're the world's richest billionaire.
With Asperger's.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right about that though. He does that. It's not even 10 seconds. It's like a full on 45 seconds. You're checking your video player. You're like, is it pause? Is it buffering?
Did it freeze?
Yeah.
I think it's nice. It builds the suspense. You know, it does build the suspense, and it really does engage people, like to let them sort of linger in the moment of silence. You know, it's a good, it's a classic classic technique of really well-known speakers.
It'd be funny if you did a dramatic pause and then your response is completely anticlimactic.
That sounds like something I would do. Yeah, absolutely.
Could you
Yeah.
repeat the question?
Sorry, I got lost. What was the question again? I was thinking about In-N-Out. Gonna go grab a burger.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about what I was gonna do once we're done here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, do I want pizza or do I want a burger? Yeah. But yeah, I know that it's challenging. So Lethbridge, where I live, is a conservative riding. Federally, Lethbridge is voted conservative at the federal level for 100 years. We have a great conservative MP here in Lethbridge. Her name is Rachel Thomas, and she does really great work. She's very outspoken in the House of Commons, which is great. Not that if you've ever watched CPAC, I'm sure you likely have. She's a very strong voice for farmers, in the House of Commons, and I really respect her and the work that she's done. And so it's not so much about tearing down the other candidates; it's about really giving a voice to the PPC and letting Lethbridge know that there is a populist party who wants to restore, the moral fabric of Canada wants, equality for all. We're all different, but we're all equal under the law. No more preferential treatment for people who are in protected classes. I think that everyone should be treated, the PBC believes everyone should be treated the same under the law, and I completely agree with that. And also to look at, how we can stop the transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. Transfer payments is a classic example of socialism for the rich. Socialism and transfer payments is a socialist policy that transfers money from the less, like from the provinces that are doing very well with their raw resources, such as Alberta, and those transfer payments go over to the other provinces east to help them to try to make it a level playing field so that all provinces can thrive. And as much as I certainly agree that we should support one another and all the provinces should be in a position to thrive, these transfer payments are completely ridiculous and out of touch. They need to be reviewed. Absolutely, and restructured. What that math looks like, I don't know. But I know that Alberta has had enough of these transfer payments, and also then to be shunned on for our oil and gas industry when, our the oil and gas industry in Alberta is supporting Ontario and Quebec. And then you're turning around and over-regulating us, like to be able to do what we do. It's just so hypocritical, It's just so hypocritical. So those are some of the things I think that are important to Albertans, having a good quality of life, equality, under the law, individual responsibility. Like I'm able to make my own choices. Government overreach is ridiculous. We don't want to be treated like 3-year-olds anymore. We would like to sit and have an adult conversation with our government, both municipally, provincially, and federally. And, I think the PPC is also, ending government overreach, shrinking the federal government down, giving the power back to the provinces for them to govern their people. I think these are all things that align very much with the PBC's ideals, which are, for personal freedom, individual responsibility, fairness, and respect.
I will add one to that. Not really one that people talk about. I've really come out and I've started to oppose patriotism the way that it's defined now. Right now, patriotism is defined as, shut up and we're all in this together. The way we get out of COVID is that if we all get vaccinated, we have a moral obligation to support Ukraine. And I look at it, I think this is the PPC model too, where, patriotism starts at the family. You make the best community and you become a pillar for the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my view.
I love it. Yeah, the family, the pillar, a pillar in your community is exactly what's needed. We need more leaders. We need more leaders who have integrity and a moral compass. Who are going to be the pillar, be the strength of what so many of us need right now. And I hope more people respond to this and step into leadership. We're all born to lead. We just need to learn how.
Another bumper sticker. Slightly longer bumper sticker, but it's a good one. Yeah, I think the term is the rubber banding or whatever. You're going all robotic. Can you hear me? I think the government's onto us.
I think so. They're like, that's it. We've been flagged.
Yeah.
But yeah, to build a little bit onto it, like one of my jokes that I used to always that I have is like, we live under a feminine fascist regime. We're all sucking at the teat of the Canadian government. And as we look up at them, as we look up at the government and they're telling us, don't worry, mommy knows best. That's what feminine fascism is. Mommy knows best. Like shut, like, there's no resisting, there's no questioning, there's no like, can we have a discussion or an intelligent debate about this? It's like, no, you don't know what you need, but mommy does. Mommy knows what you need, so you just pacify and stay on the teat, and we'll make sure that you're safe.
That's horrifying imagery of
It is
Trudeau beating up the
horrifying.
citizens, pressing them to his bosom. Yeah.
It's horrifying. It absolutely is horrifying. And that's what feminine fascism is. I kind of miss the days of old school fascism, masculine fascism, where it was like, it was like Mussolini is always right. Oh, okay, Mussolini's always right. Okay, like that. That at least is a little bit more clear than what we're experiencing right now. It's just
Make
we're like, oh, maybe
Mussolini
you
great again. Yeah.
totally make Mussolini great again. No, not at all. I mean, Mussolini was a terrible leader, and caused a lot of pain and suffering for his
But
country and for his people.
on on the plus side, Mussolini gave us a really good gift. Whenever we're feeling sad, we can always bring up that picture of him hanging upside down. He got justice at the end.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, but nobody ever compares anybody to Mussolini. It's always like, oh, you're Hitler,
Well,
right? Like you're
he's
Hitler.
he's like he's a useless like step cousin of Adolf Hitler. He's like the Hitler that could, he tried, but he failed miserably.
Useless step cousin. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's sort of funny though. Like it just makes me laugh that the DEI policy. When you go against DEI policy, like people often point the finger and tell you that you're Hitler. But like the thing that is so ironic is like if you actually study history, that's exactly like Hitler divided everyone by race. And that's exactly what DEI policy does.
Clara, let me stop you there. You're talking sense. You can't do that with these guys.
Can't do that. Yeah, fair enough.
Uh,
So it's just ridiculous to have preferential treatment given to one group than another. I understand that the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms, which is a charter that I completely stand by, and absolutely, and I know that there's like how it talks about in the charter, like it's affirmative action, right? Where you're like taking, you are giving preferential treatment to groups that are discriminated against. Um, and I believe that of course, there are groups that are discriminated against, and of course, we need to support and ensure that everyone is treated equally and fairly in our society. I just don't know if DEI is the way to do it. I had a funny story. I was with my daughter. She's ready to enter the job market as a teenager, and we were going around handing out our applications. And I can't believe that these words came out of my mouth, but they did. I was like, oh, don't bother going in there. They don't hire white people. Like those words came out of my mouth. Like I can't believe I said that to my daughter. And I'm like, okay, great. So DI's worked. Are we happy now? Is this good? Is it good
I'm gonna
enough?
go on a limb here. Was your daughter applying to Tim Hortons?
Yeah, she's just applying to she's entering the job market. What do you do when you're like a young a teenager? You go work at McDonald's, Tim Hortons, Starbucks, maybe if you're lucky. You go. Those are the kinds of jobs that you're going to go and apply for.
Addison Ammett, what is he saying? I have to abide by DEI rules with my idea for a documentary highlighting Vancouver's racist history and how human rights movements and reparations started. I
Mm.
guess he's in the documentary industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, no doubt about it. Vancouver was founded, that's where all the Brits lived. I mean, it was very stiff upper lip, of course. Yeah, it was a very stiff upper lip culture in Vancouver. They kind of got to do their own thing because like they didn't really have shipping like they do now across the Pacific, right? It was very isolated over there. So they were very, I'm sure they undoubtedly were very racist. Yeah,
The good
that
old
must be an
days.
interesting
Yeah,
conundrum.
the good old days before Vancouver went all woke.
Yeah, Vancouver's so woke, and I just feel like woke. I'm not even sure what it means anymore. Like I thought I used to think I knew what it meant, but I don't even know anymore what it means. I feel woke because I was asleep for years as my voice was silenced. I wasn't comfortable or capable to speak my opinions without being silenced in some way. So I feel woke because I was like, I'm ready now to go and talk about things that I was silenced for saying. And that is that our society needs morality, and we are morally depraved right now.
We got more bandwidth issues. Are you back?
Yeah.
Gonna wait for your video to correct. Can you hear me? Okay, there you are. You're back. I missed
I'm
the
back.
last portion, but I was gonna say, sort of with adjacent to DEI, I don't think these policies are gonna work that well. Oh, did we lose you? Clara, give it a few seconds. Clara, we lost your video.
Yeah, I'm still with you. I'm just going to relocate closer to my modem to see if that helps.
That's okay. You can keep your video off if
Okay,
you don't want it.
thanks.
Since I speak for others watching. um, I was at this dinner party, and this woman, mother, she was immigrant herself, and she was telling me how her son couldn't get into university even though he had like a 95% average because he was competing with these foreign students.
Yeah.
And universities prefer foreign students because of they get more money, right? So like I didn't say this, but I was kind of like, oh, which party did you vote for in the last election? I'm just curious. Like, how does that feel? Your vote having consequences.
And what did you say?
Oh, obviously I didn't say that. I just sat there in silence. But my point is, like, these policies, they're self-destructive to the liberals. So they're probably gonna, if Carney hasn't already signaled that he's rolling them back, they will.
Yeah, they are very destructive. I mean, it's so hard because I will say, like, I am a Christian, and immigration is something that I really struggle with as a Christian because I believe that people have every right to come in search of a better life, to provide for their families, have clean water, food, accommodations. Like that is a human right, and people have every and it's our responsibility. Like I feel like that it's my responsibility to embrace and facilitate and help people, be able to have a safe environment for them to raise their families. That's something that I really believe in. So I've really struggled a lot with immigration. But I guess where I've kind of landed on it is, a lot of people who have immigrated to Canada, had to go through a lot of processes. It wasn't an easy thing to do, to get here. Like, I think that they came here the right way. They came here legally. Went through the processes that were set before them. And so I think it's kind of a little bit unfair that people can just flood into the country and receive all the benefits, and all the advantages, for coming here illegally that somebody who came here legally receives. I don't know that that's fair to the people who had to go through the process.
I mean, the analogy I would give would be like letting people cut in line.
Mhm.
You can do that, but then when people are what's the point of having the line? Like at some point, people are gonna be like, all right, let's just swarm the cafeteria. There's no point for a line.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And it's also like conveying that, like, oh, that it's acceptable. So where's our moral compass if we're allowing people to cut the line and receive preferential treatment? Like, what does that tell the rest of us who are following the rules and doing it correctly the way that's been set out? Like, what are you telling those people? Like, of course we're going to get mad. It's completely unfair. And, I hope more people get angry because there's a lot to be angry about,
Yeah, people are too complacent.
Mhm.
Clara, I see that you're holding the phone. So rather than rather than talking for another 15 minutes, how about you just tell the audience where they can learn more about you, where they can follow you on social media, or how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks. A great interview, by the way. Great questions. And I always love to hear your comprehensive stance on things. You've got a great way with words.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. So great. You can find me. I'm Clara Piedalue. I'm the PPC candidate for the Lethbridge riding. The best place to find us would be on Facebook with PPC Lethbridge. And if anybody would like to donate, we are working through our website where you can come hopefully eventually to donate. But right now, you're welcome to contact me directly at clara.piedalue@teamppc.ca.
Good stuff. And any final words for your supporters, your constituents?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's time for us to take our power back, to take our voice back, and to bring morality back to our country so that we can thrive as a people.
Excellent. Ms. Piedalue, thank you very much for coming on, and best of luck to you and your campaign.
Great. Thank you very much. You too, Payman. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.